Andrew Miedecke, you make a bit of a habit of it here. Used to the circuit racing, enjoying the white line Transport 85?
I sure am. I cut my teeth on this track, and I know it like the back of my hand. That gives me something of an advantage. The car's fantastic, and I love driving. I got to say, it's terrific fun around here.
Into turn one.
Yeah, he's going to be difficult to be. Oh, there goes Middleton in the 95 white line Transport car you saw on board with George Elliott. Just put it in too hard there, Tomo, and the tail end's come around.
The tyres would be cold, Nathan, and that would be one of the problems that he had negotiating turn one there.
George Elliott in the no ball number 55, just making his way around Woodlands, who's also had his fair share of trouble today for round 2 of the Power Tour. The V8 stock cars are finding this a lot of fun round Oran Park Raceway, but we're talking big horsepower, and you have to really point and squirt. They've really got big horsepower, and you've got to be careful that you don't get on the gas too soon because they'll smoke the tyres.
The sun's out, but it's quite cool because it's late afternoon here at Oran Park, and they're just being a bit pussyfooting around on the cold tyres, so they're trying to get some grip into them, and they'll get faster and faster as this race goes along. As we head down into turn one for the second time, and Tony Southwell now a good leader in the Fireworks King car.
Yeah, back to Nelson, then Harrison, and Southwell's going to be hard to catch. Now, he's one of the front runners normally, but for round 2 he's had a bad run of luck, and that's why he's come from the front of the field in this reverse grid situation. And as you can see, he's obviously sorted out because he's pulling a big gap. It's going to take the likes of George Elliott, Andrew Miedecke to try to chase him down.
You can see George Elliott really carving his way through the pack there, and he's going to be on the back of Harrison in a moment or two as they head over the dogleg.
Yeah, gorgeous George, soon to be a movie star, hopefully, as Harrison makes a pass on the Phantom number 8. Does he have the horsepower to get the run down the inside? Elliott's the one with the horsepower, though. Look at this thing in a straight line.
Yeah, it's really pulling some mumbo as he goes past Harrison there. He's going to go down the inside of the Phantom car as they head down to turn one, and he'll find himself into second position.
Well, George is very aggressive with this final race of the day. He took Harrison in the straight, and he took Nelson under brakes down the bottom. He really wants to get out and get after Southwell. Miedecke, though, I'm surprised he hasn't come through the field. He sits back in what is 5th place at the moment. Watch for him to come on.
He's probably preserving his tyres and also brakes to some extent. He knows this is a very important race. Coming from the back of the field, you can watch him just getting on the tail end of the Phantom car there. Back with race leader Tony Southwell in the Fireworks King car, heading onto the straight. Just a bit of sideways there, trying to put down all that 700 plus horsepower in these big 370 cubic inch motors as they head down the straight for another lap down.
Now Miedecke will start to make the move and should see him go into 3rd place. A great drive from the Phantom number 8, but this is where Miedecke is sensational. Under brakes, he has got just about every pass he's made this weekend, and if he can make his way to the front, it will be 3 wins from 3 starts, although got a fair bit of work of him ahead still.
Incredibly experienced driver, Miedecke. He's driven everything from little Formula Pacific race cars, Formula Atlantic type race cars, similar to what our Formula 3 is now. He's driven Formula 5000s and everything in between. Of course, he's been very fast. He's qualified up the front at Bathurst in things like Sierra Turbos, and is always in demand for a number 2 driver when the Bathurst 1000 comes around in October. And he's got an incredible amount of racecraft as we watch him chasing down the leaders here at Oran Park.
And of course, Miedecke's no stranger to cars with big horsepower, because campaigned a Viper at Targa Tasmania.
He has, and that would have been a real handful on some of those tight roads around Tasmania, with about the same braking and agility level as these big V8 stock cars have.
Of course, they're designed to do over 300 kilometres an hour. They're pretty agricultural as far as technology is concerned, but they have bulk horsepower, and if you can make that horsepower stick to the ground, these things can be very, very quick indeed. Miedecke now is catching Elliott, and Elliott is catching Southwell. We're going to have a race on our hands very shortly.
Yeah, Miedecke looks like he's got a bit of a tyre rubbing there on the right-hand side, or is it engine smoke? I'm not quite sure. As they head around onto the straight, he's closing up right onto the tail of George Elliott. These guys are vastly experienced. They've driven these cars also on the Bank Thunderdome circuit as well. So they really know how these handle on both street circuits, road circuits I should say, and the oval banking.
Yeah, Miedecke's car always blows smoke for some reason through that right-hander coming onto the straight. Now, I don't know whether it's a bit of asthma from the engine as it gets out of the gas, but it's a bit of a trademark, but it doesn't seem to slow the car down at all. Oh, Southwell nearly threw it away. A big lock-up. Now he's watching his mirrors, Tomo.
Yeah, he's got double trouble. There's a bit of a touch there between George Elliott and Andrew Miedecke, but Southwell's in a bit of strife. He locked him up big time coming into that corner back there, as we see Harrison just limping back to the pits with a problem.
Yeah, Harrison, that's unfortunate for him because he was sitting in a strong top 5 position. He's struggling at the moment. Miedecke now starting to wind the pace up. I think both of the guys, Elliott and Miedecke, got a bit of a fright when Southwell got a bit of a push there. He's pushing it hard. Again, he locks the front. The car's got bad understeer.
Of course, the problem is when you lock it up once, you put a flat spot on the tyre, and then the brakes tend to find that flat spot again when you're braking hard for the next corner. So it just makes it worse and worse, and he's going to have a dreadful vibration in that car, particularly on the front straight, as the two really hard charges behind him chase him down over the dog leg. George Elliott's right on his tail, as is Andrew Miedecke behind him.
Well, Tomo, he's started to slow up a little bit. You can see he's braking a bit earlier, and the guys are catching him now under brakes. He is driving his heart out, though, is Tony Southwell. He wants a win, as I said. Round 2 hasn't been that kind to him. He'd like to go home with at least a win, or possibly a top 3, and he's going to try to hang on to this number 1.
You know, he's doing a good job at the moment. He's staying in front of George Elliott. He's certainly got plenty of bumbo down the straight, because they're not catching him there. They are making up a bit of time on him in the corners, however. And of course, Oran Park is a twisty and tight layout at the best of times.
Well, I think Miedecke's experience is just holding him back at this stage. I think he's just looking to see what's going to happen, because I believe everyone's seen what Southwell's done, and possibly he's waiting for a mistake from both Southwell and George Elliott, because I think Miedecke is quicker than he is. He just seems to be sitting back and watching.
There's no use being the leader on the 4th lap from home. You've got to be the leader on the final lap, and that's the main point, because you've got to be there when the checkered flag drops, as they head down the straight to put down yet another lap.
Well, look at George now. He's close right in on the tail. Southwell's car took a big push coming onto the front straight out of speed line corner, and the car lost a lot of speed. Elliott's down the inside, and the 55 No Bull just takes that exactly. No Bull, and takes the pass for the lead.
Yeah, George had the line then. The inside line is always difficult with the turn 1 at Oran Park, but he managed it well. George Elliott, as I said, vastly experienced, started his racing career on dirt in Speedway, and has progressed from there, and doing an incredible amount of things, from writing books to, as you said before, starring in movies.
Time for a brake car driver, or V8 stock car driver, and wants to be a movie star, so we'll see what happens with that. This is one of the most aggressive drives I've seen from Southwell so far in the series. He's throwing it all on the line. He really wants to get number 1 back, as Miedecke makes a move on him now.
Yeah, Miedecke heads down the inside. He's going to try and follow George Elliott through, but Southwell closes the gate there. Elliott moves across him, and Southwell actually gets past Elliott as well, back into the lead. What an amazing manoeuvre.
Well, traffic was the woe of George Elliott there. You saw Woodlands was in his way, and take nothing away from Southwell, though. A great move under brakes.
Yeah, into the setting sun. That must be very difficult for the drivers. You can see from our onboard there just how hard it is to see on this Oran Park layout, with the sun out to the west as the afternoon gets on. Plenty of spectators still hanging around to watch this great race. Miedecke back onto the tail of George Elliott, and Southwell's really re-stamped his authority on this race.
Yeah, he certainly has. I think Miedecke's now starting to get a little bit frustrated. We've seen a couple of lockups just in the background. He's trying very hard. It's just a testament to the fact that these guys are starting to become comfortable with the cars now, Tomo. They're really pushing them to the last inch in the braking, and we're really starting to see some good racing.
Very much so. Southwell back in the lead, but coming under increasing pressure from George Elliott, who wouldn't be very happy about being repassed for the lead, as this pack of 3 head down through the dip and up to the dogleg for another lap here at Oran Park.
Yeah, and the laps are certainly starting to wind down. Can Southwell hang on? I think the tyres on that thing would be absolutely boiling at the moment. He has been driving that car 10 tenths. If some places he's actually been overdriving it down into the dipper, up on the speed line. Miedecke makes the pass, and it ends in tears for George Elliott. The 55 No Bull is reverse parked on the turn coming onto the straight.
Yeah, he'll try and get it back around and see if he can maintain that 3rd position. They've got a big gap on the cars behind. That leading pack of 3 were really way out in front, and George Elliott does that. He gets the car a 3-point reverse turn and still stays in 3rd position. We'll see a replay now. Andrew Miedecke trying to claim that inside line, and there wasn't room enough for 2, especially not in the big V8 stock cars. And Miedecke just shows how hard he is as a racer as he goes through to take 2nd, and he's going to try and chase down Tony Southwell as we see them coming through the dogleg. He's up onto the tail of the Fireworks King car. Can he get past before the checkered flag?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he'll be trying very hard. As I said earlier, if he gets this win, it'll be 3 wins from 3 starts. However, The officials, I think, will be certainly taking a closer look at that little incident, and we will have to wait on a ruling to see whether they'll just count that down as a bit of rubbing is racing. Miedecke now with a look to the inside under brakes. Is he going to make it? No. Southwell is so aggressive. How hard is he pushing it under brakes? Bit of a push.
Yeah, I think he might have been forced into that error then by Andrew Miedecke, who really put the pressure on him. But he stayed in front. A fantastic effort there from Tony Southwell. He's driving the race of his life.
Yeah, Miedecke's a lot faster through this part of the circuit, though. He closes right into his tail. I think Southwell's tyres are really starting to go away now. The car is getting very loose. It's sliding all over the place. And as we can see, as we've seen a number of times, it really understeers bad under brakes. Down under brakes again. Can he turn the car in? This time he gets it round.
You can see just how twitchy these things are over the dogleg. These big heavy cars, the tyres are getting very hot, very worn out, but Southwell is hanging on there. He just amazing effort to block Andrew Miedecke as he goes down the inside. Can he outbrake him this time? Down into turn one, Andrew Miedecke takes the lead from Tony Southwell.
Yeah, well, that was a great move from Miedecke. Southwell went to make the move, but he just left it too late, and he couldn't block the corner before Miedecke was gone through. However, Miedecke's car also seems to be getting a little bit loose. Can Southwell chase him down? He's very fast in this part of the circuit. Too fast, he's gone.
Yeah, he just got a bit too eager. He could see an opening there. Andrew Miedecke just gave him the bait, and Southwell tried to chase him down, and as you said, it was just too much. These hot tyres, and they weren't hot before, they are now, as Tony Southwell bags them out, trying to chase down Andrew Miedecke, but there's no hope of catching him now before the end of the race. Andrew Miedecke, a clear leader, an amazing effort from the back of the grid.
Yes, and one lap to go. As you said, he's not going to catch him. There was a pure example of the horsepower these things have got. You saw Southwell bring it round and he just gassed it up. Here's the replay, just too fast into the dipper. I see Strong Ice Coffee corner, the tail has come out, he's stayed on the gas, he's blowing it round, and then he just boots the throttle and just smokes the tyres, but a great drive. He'll rejoin to take second place. You can see George Elliott's back in third, but they're not going to catch Miedecke, Tomo.
No, that's absolutely right, Nathan. These things are so big and heavy. You can see then that Southwell got on the opposite lock. The momentum of the car going round was just too much. He was no way he was going to catch it. As we see Andrew Miedecke come around onto the front straight to take the checkered flag, and another race victory here on the Power Tour at Oran Park.
It's round two of the Power Tour. Of course, there'll be more action from the Power Tour from Queensland Raceway in upcoming weeks on Speed Week. Second place will go to Tony Southwell, and third, a great drive to George Elliott. Keep watching for more.